Okay, I am so excited to be filming today's video. I have not filmed a beauty video since January, which feels like forever because usually I film like 2 or 3 videos every single week. And I'm excited to be back to it and chatting with you about makeup. There is so much to talk about, like a bunch of new makeup launches, some sales, all kinds of things. And I feel like I'm a little bit out of the loop since I've been gone for a little while. I do want to say thank you so much for all of your kind comments and all of your sweet messages on my last video. I've read through all of them. I've tried to respond to as many as I could. If you missed it, my husband and I did have the privilege of adopting our second son. So we are parents for a second time. And it's been so much fun. It's just been like a whirlwind. I don't know. It's so different than just becoming parents to one. I said in that video, I thought the transition from 0 to 1 had to, like, it would have to be harder than going from 1 to 2. And a ton of you were like, no, 1 to 2 was so much harder. And now I understand why. Like, there's just so much going on. The days go by so quickly. And I just wanted to take a few weeks to kind of adjust. But I think I'm realizing there isn't really any sort of like fully adjusting. Like, just when you think you have things down and you're in a routine, everything changes. So I need to get back to filming beauty videos. It is obviously my job, but I love it. I feel like it is something that I've missed so much. And I feel like there's so much to talk about. So while I was gone, I was kind of keeping up with new launches on Instagram and TikTok. So many products have gone viral as they do. Like every single day, there is a new viral makeup product. And there are products that I've added to my list. I don't think I've purchased any beauty products except yesterday I was at Ulta and I did pick up a new foundation from About Face. But other than that, I haven't bought anything because I'm kind of waiting for like Sephora's VIB sale before I purchase some of the new products I'm thinking about. But that being said, there are a lot of viral hyped up makeup products I don't plan on buying because I've had time to like sit and think about them. There are things I probably would have purchased right away. And now I'm like, no, I can take a step back and decide it's not for me. I think it's fun every once in a while to talk about makeup that we're not going to buy because we can't possibly buy it all. We don't need it all. And these are the, really popular products that I'm planning on skipping out on this time around. If you've tried them though, I would still love to hear your thoughts, whether or not you love them or hate them or, you're indifferent about them. Let me know what you think. Okay, wait, let's actually start with this product. So this has not had the chance to go viral yet because it was just announced. It's launching later this week, but this is something that will absolutely go viral. I feel like it will sell out so quickly, partly because it's Makeup by Mario and all of the Makeup by Mario launches get a ton of hype, but also because I do think this is a palette that a lot of people are going to enjoy. So this is the new Master Mattes eyeshadow palette, the Neutrals edition. This was just announced, I think either last night or earlier this morning, so there aren't a ton of comments about it yet, so I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts on this. There are a few reasons why I'm not going to buy this. First of all, I do like the color story. I think it's really beautiful, and I appreciate that brands are doing like cooler color stories, more neutral toned eyeshadow palettes, rather than full on like intense warm orangey red palettes and calling them neutral, because I think a lot of people either have those shadows or they're not as into them. So I think people are really going to enjoy this color story as a whole. They are shades that I probably would wear, but honestly, I'm sure I have these in so many other palettes in my collection. I can actually think of a ColourPop palette that's pretty similar to this, although it does have shimmers in it. So one of the reasons I'm not going to buy it is because I don't tend to love full matte eyeshadow palettes. I love shimmers, and shimmers tend to do it for me. Like when it comes to a palette, if there's a really good shimmer formula, that's what will convince me to buy the palette. That's kind of why I bought his Ethereal Eyes palette, and the matte shadows in there are definitely not my favorite, but I think they are different than the original Master Mattes palette. I do own that one, and it is a good palette. I use it fairly often because if a palette I'm using is missing like a staple matte shadow, I might reach into that one. I've had mine for a few years, so honestly, it might be getting a little bit older at this point, but I do find the formula to be pretty dry. If you're a creamy eyeshadow fan, I would say it might not be the formula for you, although this could be different. Maybe this will feel more like the Ethereal Eyes palette, which that formula is a little bit creamier, but still not my favorite matte formula. I find that Makeup by Mario shadows tend to be buildable, so they're not quite as pigmented as other brands like Natasha Denona or even Patrick Ta, but they are maybe a little bit easier to work with if you don't want a super intense look. So that could be a reason why you really enjoy this. I just feel like for me, if I was going to buy a fully matte palette, I'd probably go with that Patrick Ta one. But in general, I'm not really in the market for a fully matte palette. I just feel like I have a lot of matte shadows in other palettes. And even though this color story is pretty, it's not doing it for me personally. Okay, so this is probably one of the most viral products from the last few weeks. I saw these everywhere whenever I was like up late at night feeding the baby, scrolling TikTok or Instagram. Without a doubt, I saw someone talking about the Milk Makeup Jelly Tints. These look super cute. I love the packaging. I love that they're just a little bit different than what we're typically seeing these days. They're just a fun launch for spring and summer. Honestly, before I really saw any in-depth reviews on this product, I just had a feeling that it wasn't going to be the product for me for a couple of different reasons. Honestly, I'm not usually like the biggest fan of any sort of gel type cheek product, although this is a little bit different than something I've really seen in the past. But as soon as I see the word like gel in the name of like a blush or a bronzer, I tend to skip over it because in my mind, that means very sheer, which is fine, but it also means streaky and patchy. Like whenever I apply any sort of gel cheek product to my face, without a doubt, it ends up looking streaky or patchy or uneven. I don't get like the smooth, even application I'm looking for that I would typically get out of like a cream blusher, bronzer, or highlighter. I did watch a couple of reviews on this, and I honestly, in general, I didn't find that it looked great on a ton of people. There were people who were able to make it work for them, and it did look really nice on some people as they were applying it. But I also felt like so many people found it to be very streaky, very patchy, and I can't be bothered with like a streaky cheek product. It has to have like a smooth, even finish because I already have textured skin. So when I found that it looked good on someone, they were usually applying it to like bare moisturized skin, or they had like a tiny bit of concealer on, or like a very wet looking foundation. So the product could really glide onto the skin. And for me, that's not what I would typically do with blush. I usually only wear blush if I'm wearing foundation, and a lot of the time I skip it anyway. So it's just not something I feel like I personally need. I almost justified it by saying like, oh, it would be a really cute lip stain because people were using it on the lips too. And it is really cute, but I have a drawer full of lip products that can give me a somewhat similar effect, like the Essence tinted lip product, like the dupe for the Benetton. I feel like that gives a similar effect. They are super cute. It's been fun watching the videos, fun to see something a little bit different. But for me, I'm just going to skip over them because I don't think like practically it's something I would reach for very often. Okay, so I have absolutely fallen for the hype surrounding the Summer Fridays lip butter balms. I think they are so good. They are really hyped up. Not everyone thinks they're worth the money, but I use mine every single day. I'm always wearing a vanilla beige, or brown sugar. Like without a doubt, I have to have one with me, whether I'm at home or I'm leaving the house. And they launched a new shade, or I guess like a new scent, a new shade and a new scent. And I almost ordered it immediately. It's the type of product I love and I use so much. I knew if I ordered it, like I would use it a ton. But again, I haven't ordered anything. So like after a few days went by and I took a step back, and I'm pretty sure it sold out, so I couldn't get it even if I wanted to. I just thought about it and I was like, I don't need this one. It's their new birthday cake scent. Now, the difference between this one and all of the other ones they have is this one actually has shimmer in it. So I think a lot of people are curious to try it out because it is shimmery. And as I thought about it, I really haven't been reaching for shimmery lip products at all over the last few months. Really, even over the past year, I don't think I've purchased a shimmery lip product. I'm trying to think. I don't know that brands have been making as many shimmery lip products, but I feel like most of mine are like very, very sheer, or they have like a true cream finish with a good amount of pigment to them. I just don't know that I would love this one as much as I initially thought because it was getting so much hype online. I was like, I have to have the new shade. And on top of that, pinks are not typically my go-to. So I just like after the hype died down, I was like, I really don't need that. I have a bunch of them and it's going to take me a while to get through them. So I'm probably good for now. Along with that, I almost ordered the Summer Fridays lip oil as soon as it launched. And again, it's been like a crazy few weeks. So I haven't had the time to really do like a ton of makeup shopping, which has been good because then I'll add things to my loves list and then revisit it later on. And sometimes when you do that, like after the hype dies down, you're just like, I really don't need this product. And that's kind of how I feel about their lip oils. I have so many lip oils. It's kind of ridiculous. And I don't know, I'm a little bit over the lip oil trend at this point. Like I love the ones I have, but when brands launch new lip oil, I'm like, another one, like how many lip oils do we really need? Because I love the Summer Fridays lip balm so much, I automatically assumed that I would love the Summer Fridays lip oil. And maybe I would, to be honest. It sounds nice, it looks pretty, it's getting pretty good reviews overall. But I have a drawer full of lip products. I really feel like that is one that I could probably skip over. And again, I love my lip oils. I wear them fairly recent, or I wear them fairly regularly. but I just feel like I don't need to buy every single lip oil that launches. Okay, I haven't watched any reviews on this palette, so truthfully, I don't know. It could be an amazing product. It does have pretty good reviews on Sephora's website. I was just kind of scrolling through to see what people were saying. So maybe it is an amazing product, but it's not really the quality that I would be concerned about. Like whether or not I would love the quality isn't something I'm questioning because it is Natasha Denona, and typically I do love her products. It's whether or not I would actually use the shades in here. So this is the Natasha Denona Hypernatural Face and Eye Palette. So it's not the first face and eye palette she's done. I do have the Glam Face and Eye Palette, which I think, was that a holiday launch or a spring launch? She did two different ones. She had a light one and then a deep one. I have the lighter one. I actually just used it a few weeks ago because the shadows in there are really, really pretty. My cheek products have dried out quite a bit, so I don't use those as much. But I don't know, this one didn't jump out at me in the same way that one did. I think the first reason being, I don't know, I just don't love the eyeshadow shades in here. Usually most Natasha Denona palettes really jump out at me and I love it. Like even if it's not something I'm going to buy, I know that I would love it if I did purchase it. But I feel like the shades in here separately are fine, but together the color story just isn't appealing to me at all, which is fine because I really don't need it anyway. But on top of that, I personally don't love the layout of the cheek products. Like a cheek or a blush duo is fine, but I don't love the bronzer because I know there are probably like two shades in there that might not be ideal for my skin tone. And if I was to use it, I'd probably just end up mixing them together. And usually I don't love cheek products that are like easily mixed together because you don't get the same color on both sides of your face every time. I don't know, there's just not really anything I like about this palette at all. Like the layout, the color story, the products in here. Maybe it is an amazing palette and there are definitely people who would really enjoy it because I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I've seen it like pop up in my subscription feed quite a bit. I just haven't even clicked on the videos because for me, it's just not that appealing, which again is totally fine because it is a Natasha Denona palette. So if it's not jumping out at me, I'd rather just save my money and skip over it anyway. To be honest, it looks a little bit cheap. Like when I first saw this, it reminded me a lot of the Too Faced holiday palettes or something that Too Faced would create. And I'm sure it doesn't actually feel that cheap in person. It doesn't strike me as a Natasha Denona palette. So I don't know. If you've picked it up, I would love to know your thoughts on it. Again, I almost feel like it would have been better if she did like two separate palettes like she did with the Glam Face and Eye palette, like a lighter version and a deeper version, rather than doing this because when you include like multiple products like this, it won't work for everyone anyway. So Glossier launched a bronzer version of their popular Cloud Paint blushes. I know people really enjoy those. And then they did do like a set during the holidays that had two minis in it. And I remember seeing people talk about those quite a bit when they launched that set. And now they have a bronzer version. I think if you are a fan of the original Cloud Paint blush, the bronzer version will probably be really appealing to you. And I've seen some people talk about these online already. It is a newer release, but I think the reason why this doesn't do it for me is the same reason why I didn't buy the Milk Makeup Jelly Tint. Anytime a product has the word gel in it, immediately I'm like, that's just not going to work for me. The word gel when it comes to cheek products like immediately translates to the word patchy in my mind. Although these are marketed as gel creams, so they kind of sound somewhat similar to the Flower Beauty blush bombs, which I love, but I don't know that I've tried another blush that performs quite as well as that because the Flower Beauty blush bombs actually have a good amount of pigment. So even though they have like a little bit of a gel cream texture, I would say maybe they're more so like a serum. There's a little bit of a gel feel, but there's also like that serum creamy texture with good pigment. And I think the issue with a lot of gel cream formulas is because they're meant to be a little bit more sheer and natural, it's hard to get like that smooth, even application. Because I do love the Flower Beauty ones, I think I'll just stick with those. Although I don't know if Flower Beauty has a bronzer version of that. I don't think they do. I feel like that would be a really good alternative to Glossier. If you guys have any other alternatives to the Cloud Paint blushes and bronzers, let us know in the comments. I feel like the CoverGirl serum blushes could also be a good alternative. And those are sheer. And again, they kind of have like that serum texture. I don't know. I think maybe a lot of brands use like gel and serum kind of interchangeably when it comes to cheek products. So serum blushes and gel cream blushes are probably somewhat similar, but I don't know. They just make me kind of nervous. I'd rather stick with like an actual true cream or just go with a powder. So today is the first day that I've worn foundation probably since January, to be honest with you. I've only been using the Natasha Denona concealer or the Tower 28 concealer as foundation. So it's not like I'm not wearing anything on my face. I'm just using concealer in place of foundation. But there's something about those products that look so much better on my skin than an actual foundation. Today I'm wearing the Catrice foundation, and I just went in with a lot less. And I also mixed it with the Glow Recipe Dew Drops, and I feel like that sheared it out a little bit. So it was a lot more comfortable, and I don't know, it looks a little bit better. I think I said earlier in the video yesterday when I was at Ulta, I did purchase the new About Face one. That one sounds really nice, and I swatched it and it feels light. It's supposed to be like a skin focused foundation, so it's supposed to look lighter and feel lighter, and I'll try it out in a video coming up soon. But for a second, I thought about trying this Kosas product. It's their new tinted moisturizer. I don't know what it is about Kosas, but I feel like most of their products don't work for me. There are a few that I like. I do love their concealer. I really love their sunscreen, which I know a lot of people don't like, but that is one of my favorite products from them, and also their brow gel. But pretty much everything else was just like an absolute fail for me. So when it comes to Kosas, I'm not usually like the first one to want to buy their products because I just don't have great luck. I know some people say they don't like Kosas because their products expire really quickly. I haven't had that experience. I'm trying to think back to when I tried some of their other ones. I don't think I've had that experience with any of their products, to be honest. But that could definitely be the case because they do market themselves as a clean beauty brand. So they obviously don't use a lot of the preservatives found in other makeup products. So that's obviously something to keep in mind. But anyway, I've seen people really enjoying this product. It's like a fresh take on a tinted moisturizer. So it's supposed to give you active skincare, light buildable coverage, and then a smooth, hydrated, natural finish, which actually sounds really great. The before and after photos look really, really nice. I just don't know that this would last on my skin throughout the day. I feel like a good hydrating formula will last on my more oily skin if it is a concealer or a foundation. But if it's a hydrating BB cream or tinted moisturizer, it usually does kind of like slip off or melt off or wear away really quickly. So that's the reason why I'm hesitant to try this one. It's expensive. It's like a high-end complexion product, and I don't have a ton of luck with high-end foundations or tinted moisturizers or things like that for the most part. I think I'm going to skip this because CoverGirl launched something that sounds kind of similar. I know a lot of people have been loving the CoverGirl one, and that one's actually kind of expensive too, especially for a drugstore product. I think it's like right around $20, but I've heard people rave about that, and I'm always curious to try the new drugstore releases. So I do want to pick up that product. I tried to order it a few weeks ago and my shade was sold out online, so I probably will grab that at some point and test it out. Although there is another complexion product I decided to skip over. It's the e.l.f. Hydrating CC or the e.l.f. Camo Hydrating CC Cream. I am a diehard e.l.f. fan. I love the brand so much, and every time they launch something, I pretty much buy it right away so I can test it out. But this is something I decided to skip over even before it went viral. When they launched their original CC cream, I did really, really like it, but my preferences have changed so much since then. It is a pretty full coverage, intense product, and part of the reason why I no longer use it is because I couldn't find like an exact shade match. And because it is so full coverage, you can see the difference if the shade is like a little bit off. Also, it feels a little bit heavier on the skin than what I typically go for these days. So when they launched the hydrating version, I kind of thought about trying it because I thought it might be more ideal or kind of what I would typically go for, but I don't know, like reading through the description, it didn't sound like there were major differences between the two. In general, because CC creams are meant to have like higher coverage, but also be really moisturizing, I feel like they feel a little bit better than like a full coverage foundation, but they can still look really cakey on the skin. And then they don't typically last on my skin as well. And, in my 30s, like foundations just don't look as good on my skin as they did in my 20s. But I feel like I'm just really aware of it. I was watching this TikTok and they were saying like at certain points in your life, you'll like look in the mirror and be like, wow, my skin has really aged or it's really changed. And there were like very specific numbers, but I feel like that happened to me after becoming a mom. I don't know if this is just because I'm like a little bit older now, or it's just like the actual stress that comes along with being a parent, like not getting as much sleep, not, taking care of yourself as well. And I definitely make an effort to take care of myself in whatever ways possible. But sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm just like, wow, what happened? That sounds really harsh. And I'm obviously being like very, very dramatic about it. But sometimes I look in the mirror, I look at a photo and I'm like, wow, maybe I could try Botox, or maybe I will go get like a professional facial treatment done. And that's totally fine too. But anyway, like long story short, like these are just thoughts I feel like I've had more so in my 30s than I did in my 20s, which is natural, but also just like over the last few years, I feel like I notice it more and more. So when it comes to makeup and complexion products and things I'm using, like I just feel like I'm hyper aware of the way they actually look and sit on my skin, especially if I'm in like natural daylight. So I just can't really choose the same types of products I would a few years ago. And like a heavier CC cream kind of falls into the category of something that might have worked for me in the past. It just is not ideal for me any longer. Okay, that was kind of a tangent. I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on that topic, and I'm not sure like I fully articulated them very well. Maybe I'll film like a get ready with me chatty video on that. I feel like that's just something that kind of comes up naturally, like as you age, and there's nothing wrong with aging. And obviously, our society has like a fear of aging, and obviously, aging is a privilege. And along with that, like your face is going to change, your hair will change, your body will change. But I think sometimes, you just have to kind of it's fine to accept it, but it's also okay to kind of see like, okay, what can I change that will make me feel more confident as that happens? Okay, one last brand new launch that I feel like is starting to get a little bit of hype is the KVD Good Apple Blush and Bronzer Balm Duos. So I think the reason why people will talk about these is because of the Good Apple Balm Foundation, which went viral years ago. Like that was one of the first products that ever went viral on TikTok. People were raving about that product. And I know some of you actually like that product. When I talk about it on my channel or like reference it, some people are like, no, I still really enjoy that. So it could work for you. But for me, that product just didn't last on my skin. It was a little bit too much. Like it felt heavy, it looked heavy, and it wore off pretty quickly. But I almost feel like that actually could be a really good product for a cream bronzer or a cream blush. And it looks like that's what they did. They did these duos, so you actually get two different shades and they're split right down the middle. So you really wouldn't have to end up mixing them together, or you could. So I feel like the value is definitely there. I like the fact that they did that because this is a pretty high pigment formula. So you're really only going to have to go in with a small amount each time. And they're supposed to layer seamlessly, last all day. The colors are really beautiful, but because they are so high pigment, they're just not going to be for me. I know I said earlier, I don't typically love like a sheer cheek product, and I do love like a good pigmented cream blush, but these shades are probably a little bit brighter than I personally would typically go for. So if those are shades you think you would love, these could be a great option. The bronzers look nice, but they all lean like a little bit orangey. So I don't know that there's one that would be great on my skin tone. And I feel like that's again perfectly fine. So I don't plan on picking those up, but I do think it is kind of a fun launch. Okay, so those are all of the viral hyped up makeup products I don't plan on picking up this time around. I know this video is a little bit longer. I'll try to cut it down in editing, but thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I had so much fun chatting with you guys, kind of catching up. I plan on uploading probably like again 2 or 3 videos a week, just depending on how it goes over the next few weeks. But if there's anything you want to see on my channel, let me know in the comments below. And I would love to hear your thoughts on these products. I read every single comment. So let me know if there's anything that caught your eye, if you've actually tried these products and what you think about them. And I will be back in a few days with a new video. I think we're going to chat about Ulta's new sale. So stay tuned for that.